We need to be encouraging more and more people to speak up, to share their ideas, to get their thoughts out there. You need to speak up more. I do, we all do, because if we don't, nothing's gonna change, nothing's gonna happen. Not what we want anyway. And I think back to this story. It's a Bob Hope related story. Bob Hope was a superstar worldwide for years and years, and many years ago, he was touring the country doing some shows, but he was also plugging a book. He had come out with a new book, and he was stopping to do talk shows in different cities that he went to. And when he was in Cleveland, Ohio, or the day before getting to Cleveland, some of Bob Hope's reps called the Mike Douglas Show. Now, this is before the Mike Douglas Show was really popular. Mike Douglas went on to be syndicated, very popular in the 70s and even the early 80s. In fact, I remember my parents watching that show. But at any rate, he used to just be, Mike Douglas was just a local show out of Cleveland for a long time when it first started out. And Bob Hope's reps were coming to Cleveland, and they called the Mike Douglas Show because they wanted Bob to go on there, do like a 5-minute bit and plug his book. Well, the only producer who was available the day they called was a 23-year-old first-year producer. He was actually an assistant. The 3 other producers, one was sick, and the other 2 were traveling and weren't in town and weren't going to be back for a few more days. So this 23-year-old young assistant producer for the show, the Mike Douglas Show, which was local only in Cleveland, absolutely jumped on it and said, yeah, have Bob Hope come by, that'd be great. And he spent the next day before the show's taping wondering, like, what can I get Bob Hope to do? This is amazing. We got to take advantage of this. We have Bob Hope coming on our show. This could be the turning point, the tipping point. And Bob Hope, the next day comes, and Bob Hope and his staff, or his team of publicists and people all around them, arrive. And they're coming into the building, and the 23-year-old is there to greet him. And he's walking with Bob Hope as they go down the hallway into the building, and he's really nervous. He knows, he thought about it the night before. He wanted Bob to do like the whole hour show, to not only sit and talk with Mike Douglas, interview style, but also to sing, to perform, to tell jokes, and take up almost the whole hour. But he didn't know how to ask it. He was walking down the hallway with Bob Hope, talking a little bit about the show, and Bob was sitting there saying, what do you want? Where do you need me? Where do I go? And that's how the story plays out. And then the kid is mumbling and really nervous. So finally, Bob Hope says, he grabs the kid, the 23-year-old producer, by the arm, pulls him into a room, away from all the other people, the staff, the publicists. It's just Bob Hope and this young 23-year-old. And Bob Hope looks at him and says, listen, kid, I'm happy to help out, but you need to speak up. You got to tell me what it is that you want, where you want me, when you want me, what do you want me to do? And he's saying this with a smile on his face as the story goes. So finally the young producer is able to share, well, I'd really love if you could do this. And the moral and the point of this, and Bob Hope, by the way, he did the whole hour show with Mike Douglas. Interview, but also he sang, he danced, he told jokes, he performed as Bob Hope can do. And the story goes, and the moral of the story is, we have to ask, we have to speak up. And I know sometimes we're nervous, I know sometimes we're flustered, I know sometimes it's last minute and you don't even really have a lot of time to prepare. But if you don't put it out there, if you don't speak up, if you don't just throw the ideas out for the right people to hear it, nothing will ever happen. So you've got to learn, take advantage of those opportunities and speak up to the right people. This kid caught a big break because Bob pulled him in the room and said, what do you want me to do? That's not always going to happen in every case, all right? So thanks, Bob Hope, for that great story, and we all have to speak up more. See you soon.